There is a silent turning point in every soul's journey, a moment not marked by fanfare or fireworks, but by stillness. A moment when the seeking slows, the questions soften, and something ancient within you begins to rise, not as a scream, but as a whisper. That whisper carries a truth so profound and so simple that the mind, with all its complexity, can only bow to it. That truth is this: miracles are not rare events, they are your natural state. And they begin the instant you align with the source. You are not separate from the infinite. You are not apart from God or disconnected from the divine. The same energy that gives life to galaxies courses through your veins. The same intelligence that carved rivers and painted sunsets moves your lungs, beats your heart, and dreams through your eyes. And yet, somewhere along the way, you were taught to forget. Taught to believe you were only a body, only a name, only a role to play in a world of form. But I am here to remind you, not with urgency, but with reverence, that you are none of these things. You are the space in which these things arise. You are the awareness, the watcher, the silent field of presence that cannot be touched by change or time. You are the sky, and your thoughts are merely the clouds that pass. You are the ocean, and your emotions are only waves that rise and fall. You are the light, and this world is your reflection. The ego will resist this truth. It will tell you that you are small, that you must prove, perform, and achieve to earn your place in this universe. It will whisper that you are not enough, not yet, not until, and it will keep whispering that lie until you look it in the face and say, I remember who I am. You are not what you've done. You are not what was done to you. You are not your failures, your wounds, your achievements, or your regrets. You are the eternal, unchangeable presence beneath it all. The source is not outside of you, it is within you, as you forever. And when you remember this, not as an idea, but as a lived reality, life begins to shift, not in chaos, but in harmony. Not by effort, but by alignment. You no longer need to chase miracles because you've become one. You no longer need to seek love because you are it. You no longer pray for peace to arrive, you breathe and remember, peace is who I am when I stop pretending I am not. In the stillness, in the surrender, miracles begin. Not because the world changes, but because your perception is healed. You begin to see as the source sees, without judgment, without fear, without the distortions of the ego. You see wholeness in the broken, light in the dark, beauty in the seemingly mundane. You see yourself not as a separate wave, but as the ocean remembering its form. And in that remembrance, life becomes sacred again. You wake in the morning, not to perform, but to express. You speak, not to be heard, but to bless. You move, not to get somewhere, but to reveal what's already here. Every step becomes a prayer. Every breath becomes a bridge. Every moment becomes a doorway into the divine. This is not a fantasy. This is your reality when you return to the truth of who you are. And that return does not require a pilgrimage or perfection. It only requires presence. The courage to stop running, the grace to be still, and the faith to know that everything you've been seeking is seeking you back. You are not here to create alignment. You are here to allow it. You are not here to earn the divine's favor. You are here to recognize you were never without it. You are not a mistake trying to become worthy. You are a miracle slowly waking up to your own light. And that light is not fragile. It does not flicker based on opinion or circumstance. It is steady, unwavering, eternal. It shines even when you forget it's there. It forgives even when you withhold grace from yourself. It is the part of you that has never been wounded, never been lost, never been anything less than divine. The Tao Te Ching says, when I let go of what I am, I become what I might be. But even that is only half the story. Because when you let go of what you thought you were, your name, your labels, your masks, you do not become something new. You reveal what has always been. The pure awareness, the divine spark, the one who watches the sunrise without needing to explain it, the one who feels love ripple through their chest for no reason other than because it's true. That is who you are. You are not the seeker. You are the sought. You are not the question. You are the answer waiting to be realized. And when you finally, fully remember this, miracles cease to be rare. They become the rhythm of your days. Because miracles are not interruptions of nature. They are the return to it. They are what happens when the false dissolves and the real remains. They are not loud, They are not flashy, but they are life-altering. The miracle of waking up in love with yourself, not as an egoic concept, but as a spiritual reality. The miracle of looking into another's eyes and seeing yourself. The miracle of forgiving, not because you condone, but because you are no longer willing to carry pain into your future. The miracle of gratitude so deep it makes your ordinary moments feel holy. This is what happens when you align with the source. Not because the source rewards you for obedience, but because alignment removes the static that blocks the signal of your own soul. And when the static is gone, clarity emerges. Love flows, peace remains, and life becomes not a problem to solve, but a mystery to live. This is the miracle. This is the invitation, and this is who you are. The miracle, you see, is not reserved for saints or sages. It does not require perfect faith or flawless behavior. It asks only for your willingness to remember. And once you remember, even for a moment, you begin to live as one who no longer walks alone because you realize you never have. That silent presence, the source within, has walked every step with you through joy and grief, through triumph and confusion, not judging, not correcting, but patiently waiting for you to turn inward and listen. And when you do, when you listen, not with your ears, but with your being, you begin to hear a different rhythm beneath the noise. Not the rhythm of the world, frantic and fearful, but the rhythm of truth, steady and serene. It beats like a second heart within you, untouched by time. That is alignment, not a task, but a tuning. You tune your awareness not to the volume of the world, but to the silence of the infinite. In that silence, you remember something you never truly forgot, that you are safe. Not because life promises comfort, but because you are held by something greater than circumstance. You are cradled by the same force that opens flowers without hands and lifts oceans without struggle. This force does not abandon, it does not punish. It only asks to be let in. But to let it in, you must first let go. Let go of the need to control what was never yours to begin with. Let go of the maps drawn by fear and the scripts written by expectation. The miracle does not unfold where the ego demands it blooms, where surrender creates space. You cannot clutch your way into peace. You cannot strategize your way into grace. You can only soften. You can only yield. Like the river that flows, not because it knows the way, but because it trusts the slope beneath it, your life begins to move when you stop resisting the current of your own soul. This is not passivity. This is power, the kind of power that requires no noise, no defense, the kind of power that can stand quietly in a storm and know the storm will pass, but the soul will remain. You are not here to fight life into shape. You are here to dance with it, to let it reveal its rhythm to you, not through control, but through communion. And this communion begins the moment you stop treating life as an enemy to be conquered and start treating it as a partner in awakening. When you align with the source, life stops being a battle and becomes a conversation. Not everything will be easy, but everything will be sacred. Not every path will be smooth, but every step will be meaningful. Even your sorrow will be transformed, not erased, but alchemized. What once broke you now opens you. What once made you ache now makes you wise. Pain ceases to be punishment and becomes initiation. Suffering stops defining you and starts refining you. You begin to see that nothing was wasted. Not the silence, not the confusion, not even the heartbreak. Because all of it, every drop, was guiding you back to this one holy truth. You are never outside the arms of the divine. Not for a moment, not for a breath. And when you know this, not as belief, but as being, you become untouchable in the deepest sense. The world may misunderstand you. People may project their pain onto you. But nothing can uproot the peace that blossoms from alignment. It is not a peace that needs protection. It is a peace that protects you without a wall, without a fight, without a single word. This is the miracle. You no longer need to be different to be whole. You no longer need to arrive to be complete. You are not a problem to be solved. You are a mystery to be lived. And that mystery is beautiful. Then let us go deeper still, not away from the world, but further into the heart of it, further into the part of you that has always known the way, not with facts, but with feeling, not with answers, but with a presence so pure, so immediate, that it renders all questions silent. The soul does not need to know what comes next. It only needs to be here. For here, this sacred fleeting now is the only place the source can be felt. Not in the past, wrapped in memory, not in the future, woven in worry, but in this breath, this heartbeat, this quiet, open space between thoughts. And the more you stay here, the more miracles arise, not because you earned them, but because you stopped resisting them. You stopped living as if love were scarce. You stopped bargaining with life. You stopped waiting for permission to feel free, to feel joy, to feel worthy. What a profound shift it is when you stop postponing your peace. You no longer say, I'll be calm when, or I'll be grateful if. You no longer place your serenity on a distant pedestal, waiting for conditions to grant you what already lives within you. You begin to understand deeply, irrevocably, that everything you have been chasing is something you must now allow. The light is not far away. It is only dimmed by your belief that you are not yet ready to see it. But you are ready. You were ready the day you were born. Not ready to become someone, but ready to remember the someone you already are, the eternal one, the divine presence, clothed for a while in skin and story. And when you live from that remembrance, you stop performing, you stop defending, you stop editing your soul to make it more palatable to a world lost in its own forgetting. You live instead with open hands, open eyes, open heart. You begin to notice what you once overlooked, the way the morning light slips through the curtain, an ordinary miracle. The sound of your own breath as you lie awake before dawn, proof that you are still here, still being held by life. Even the ache in your chest becomes sacred because you no longer fear it. You know now that pain is not the absence of grace. It is often the very doorway through which grace enters. And so you soften to the mystery. You soften to not knowing. You soften to the possibility that this moment, however unfinished it may seem, is exactly what your soul needs. You are not a project. You are a presence. You are not an equation to solve, but a field to feel, a space to inhabit, a consciousness to awaken. And in that awakening, the world begins to feel new again, not because it has changed, but because you have. The trees seem to speak in silence. The sky hums with belonging. Even strangers carry a glint of recognition in their eyes, as if your soul remembers theirs from somewhere far beyond this place. Because it does. Because all separation is illusion. There is only one of us here, playing, learning, growing, remembering. And the miracle is not that you discover this truth. The miracle is that you begin to live it. Not on Sundays, not in sacred spaces, but in your kitchen, in your tears, in your laughter, in the quiet moment before sleep when your soul sighs and says, yes, this is it, this is enough. No more becoming, no more pretending, just this, just being. And being, my dear soul, is the beginning of every miracle that ever was. You are not here to fix what was never broken. You are not here to collect more light. You are here to realize that you are the light, casting shadows only when you forget to stand in your own radiance. The darkness was never a punishment. It was a passage, a tunnel you had to walk through to learn that illumination doesn't come from the world, it shines from within you. The source does not send storms to test you. It sends storms to show you that the calm has always lived inside you, that you are not the branches torn by the wind, you are the root that holds. And when the winds of life howl through the soul, as they sometimes must, you no longer grip for safety in the external. You drop deeper into your own presence. You find sanctuary not in escape, but in anchoring. You let the storm pass through you like music through a hollow reed, changing you, yes, but never destroying. This is the power of surrender, not weakness, but wisdom. The wisdom to stop resisting what island. The grace to let life touch you fully without shrinking from it. To let both joy and sorrow have their place at your table, knowing that nothing comes without offering you a piece of your own awakening. There is a holy maturity that begins to grow when you stop needing everything to feel good and start allowing everything to be sacred. You no longer search for perfect moments. You make the moment perfect by being utterly present within it. You no longer seek out sacredness in ritual alone, you discover it in the mundane. The way a child laughs without agenda. The way your hand fits your chest when your breath deepens. The way silence stretches wide enough to hold your every unspoken longing. And in that wideness, the divine arrives. Not as a voice from the heavens, but as a stillness so full, it silences all your questions. Not as a blaze of revelation, but as the subtle shift when your heart stops defending and starts trusting. Trusting not in outcomes, but in essence. Trusting not in what the path looks like, but in what walks it with you. The source is not a destination. It is the ever-present pulse beneath every step. And you don't get closer to it by striving. You become aware of it by shedding the identity built from survival, shedding the beliefs you borrowed but never questioned, shedding even your hopes until what's left is not hope but knowing. A knowing that is beyond emotion, beyond sensation, beyond explanation. A knowing that simply says, I am. And that I am is not a phrase, it is a frequency, a field, a home you carry with you, no matter how lost the world appears outside. From that field, you begin to live differently. Not louder, not faster, but with a gravity that pulls all things into balance. Your words become fewer but more true. Your choices become simpler but more powerful. You stop chasing alignment and start embodying it, wordless, weightless, unstoppable. Not because you've gained something new, but because you've finally allowed what's always been. And so the river flows onward, not seeking the ocean, but knowing it is already part of it. This is how your soul moves when you stop interrupting it like water, gentle but undeniable. It doesn't need permission to flow. It doesn't need validation to exist. It simply follows its nature. And your true nature, unburdened by thought or fear, is just as effortless, just as pure. There is nothing you must do to become who you are. The sky does not strain to be blue. The mountain does not strive to be strong. The rose does not earn its fragrance. And you divine, infinite, eternal, you do not need to hustle for your place in the sacred order of things. You belong because you are. And yet, how often have you felt exiled from your own being? Not because you were cast out, but because you believed the voices that said you had to earn your way home. But no one can deny you entrance to a kingdom that lives within you. No gatekeeper holds the key to your wholeness that was placed in your heart before your first breath. You unlock it not by force, but by remembrance. You remember through stillness, through wonder, through choosing truth over approval and presence over performance. And in that remembering, life no longer feels like a test you must pass. It feels like a dance, a sacred movement between the seen and unseen, between your form and your formlessness, between your temporary expression and your eternal essence. The dance is not choreographed, it is improvised with the divine. Each moment offers a rhythm. Each breath is an invitation. Each choice is a brushstroke in the masterpiece you are painting with your presence. And the miracle is not that the masterpiece is perfect. The miracle is that it is alive, that you are alive, that the infinite, the unnameable, the source itself chose to express as you. Can you feel the wonder of that? Not as a concept, but as a vibration beneath your skin. You are not merely in the universe. The universe is in you. Every star, every tide, every whisper of wind carries the same origin as your consciousness. The atoms that make up your body once danced in the core of ancient suns. The love that stirs in your chest is not yours alone. It is the echo of something that moves all things toward wholeness. And when you remember this, the false boundaries begin to dissolve. You stop separating spirit from flesh, sacred from mundane, self from other. You begin to live in communion, not just with the divine, but with everything. The tree is no longer just wood and leaf, it is a presence. The sky is no longer just air and light, it is a cathedral. The stranger is no longer a mystery, they are a mirror. Everything is whispering, you are part of this. You are never alone. You are the miracle and the witness to it all. And so you walk not in fear, but in reverence. Not because every moment is easy, but because every moment is holy. Because when reverence becomes the rhythm of your life, you no longer live from habit, you live from harmony. You listen differently. You see with the eyes behind your eyes. And suddenly, even the smallest encounter becomes charged with meaning, with presence, with a quiet knowing that something far greater than you is living as you. You begin to realize that alignment is not a task to be achieved. It is a truth to be remembered in every step, every silence, every surrender. There is no striving here, only returning. Returning again and again to that still point within you that never left. That place so vast and unshaken that no opinion can distort it, no storm can move it. And from that center, something extraordinary begins to happen, not outside of you, but within. You begin to live, not in reaction, but in revelation. Not from memory, but from moment. You are no longer pulled by the gravity of old stories. You are moved by the magnetism of truth. The truth that you are loved, not because of what you do, but because of what you are. The truth that you are guided not by maps and plans, but by a deeper knowing that rises in stillness like a tide. The truth that life is not punishing you, it is polishing you, shaping you into a clearer vessel for light to pass through. And in this polishing, you start to welcome even the friction. You see that the moments that once made you shrink were actually sacred fires, burning away the layers of illusion that kept you from your own brilliance. What once felt like loss becomes space. What once felt like failure becomes refinement. What once felt like confusion becomes the breath before clarity. And you stop waiting for your life to begin, because you see now that it has always been happening perfectly, painfully, beautifully, just as it must. You are not behind. You are not off track. There is no track. There is only unfolding. There is only now. And now is enough. Now contains everything. When you stop arguing with what is, you find yourself embraced by what has always been. This is the miracle, not that you escape suffering, but that you discover a stillness within it. Not that you never fall, but that you rise softer, wiser, more aligned each time. Because alignment is not rigidity, it is fluidity. It is a tree bending in the wind, rooted and resilient. It is a river finding its way, not by force, but by yielding to gravity, to guidance, to grace. And so you yield not as surrender to defeat, but as surrender to the divine choreography of your life. You stop controlling and start collaborating. You stop fixing and start flowing. You stop seeking the miraculous and start embodying it. Because you now know the miracle is not something you will find. The miracle is what you become when you stop pretending you are not already whole. There comes a moment, quiet, uncelebrated, invisible to the outside world, when you stop searching for transformation and begin to live it. Not because something changed, but because you did. Because you finally turned inward with sincerity instead of strategy. Because you no longer asked life to give you peace, you offered peace to life. And in that reversal, the world becomes softer. Not because the noise stops, but because it no longer reaches the center of you. You've become the stillness beneath the sound, the sky beneath the clouds, the unmoving presence that allows all things but clings to none. This is not a detachment born from numbness. It is a compassion born from clarity. A seeing that is so complete, so rooted in truth, that judgment dissolves and love remains. You love not because people earn it, but because love is what flows through you when there is nothing left to protect. You forgive not because it is easy, but because your soul can no longer carry the weight of an old story. You let go not because you no longer care, but because you finally trust what comes next. And trust, that is the sacred soil in which miracles bloom. Not forced, not fabricated, but revealed. Trust allows you to walk into the unknown without fear, to speak without needing applause, to rest without guilt. It is the quiet power of one who knows, I do not walk alone. I walk with every breath of creation. I walk with the intelligence that paints galaxies and grows gardens from dust. I walk with the source not above me, not beyond me, but as me. And from this knowing, new eyes open. You stop interpreting life through the lens of lack. You begin to see not what is missing, but what is mirroring. Every situation becomes a teacher. Every delay becomes protection. Every ending becomes the fertile ground of rebirth. Even the silence becomes sacred, especially the silence, because in silence there is no role to perform, there is no mask to wear, there is only being. And in being, you meet the divine, not as an idea, but as the very texture of your existence. You realize you don't need more time, you need more presence. You don't need more achievements, you need more alignment. You don't need to be saved, you need to remember that you were never lost. This is the gentle revolution of the soul, the one that doesn't arrive in thunder but in a soft exhale, a knowing without words, a freedom without noise, a return without distance. And once you touch this space within you, even for a breath, you are changed. You no longer need to explain yourself to the world, you simply live your truth. You no longer need to convince others to understand. You understand yourself, and that is enough. You no longer chase certainty, you walk in wonder. The world may not see the shift, but you feel it in the way your feet meet the ground, and the way your eyes meet the sky, and the way your spirit says, yes, this is the way. There is a silence here, ancient, sacred, undisturbed. It does not demand that you change. It does not wait for you to earn its grace. It simply welcomes you like the ocean welcomes the river without question. It wraps around your weariness, your longing, your years of reaching, and it whispers the only truth that matters now. You are already held. Can you feel that? not as a fleeting comfort, but as a foundation beneath your very breath, you are already in the place you long to reach. Not because everything outside has been resolved, but because everything within has been remembered. The light you prayed would save you has been quietly burning in your chest all along. And now that you've stilled yourself enough to see it, everything begins to glow. You begin to walk not with answers, but with reverence. Not with certainty, but with peace. The world no longer needs to change for you to be free, because your freedom was never in the world. It was always in your willingness to meet it all with open hands, with an unguarded heart, with a soul no longer hiding from its own radiance. You stop measuring your worth by what you produce. You stop chasing love that demands your shrinking. You stop resisting the moment because the moment has become holy. And so you move through life like one who remembers what most have forgotten. That joy is not pleasure, it is presence. That success is not status, it is alignment. That peace is not the absence of trouble, it is the presence of truth. And the truth is this: you are the miracle you were waiting for. You are not on the way to becoming something greater, you are the greater already revealed when the veil of doubt is lifted. You are not healing toward wholeness, you are peeling away all that is not whole. You are not climbing toward the divine, you are remembering that the divine was never above, never beyond, never apart. It has always been within you, breathing you, guiding you, loving you in ways words cannot hold. And now, as the journey folds into this sacred stillness, you don't need a conclusion, you don't need a finish line. You simply need to rest in the knowing that you are aligned with the source. And when you are aligned, life aligns with you, not because you control it, but because you become so deeply yourself, the universe cannot help but respond in harmony. So let yourself soften one final time. Let yourself breathe, not to survive, but to embody the miracle you are. And may you carry this remembrance into every room you enter, into every silence you keep, into every kindness you offer, not to prove anything, not to fix anything, but to live as one who has returned. Return to the breath, return to the truth, return to the source. And in that return, everything is made whole. You are home, and home, beloved soul, is where the miracle has always been. There is a stillness beneath all things, a silence so vast, so ancient, so eternal, that it cannot be spoken, only felt. You have touched it before in those fleeting moments when the mind surrendered, when the noise hushed, when all striving ceased. Perhaps it was beneath the stars, or during a quiet walk at dusk, or in the ache of loss when the world fell silent enough for truth to rise. It is there, in that stillness, that the Tao lives. The Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao. Words are fingers pointing at the moon, they are not the moon. The moment we define the divine, we reduce it. The moment we label the infinite, we confine it. Yet our hearts yearn for it, not as an idea, but as a remembrance. And so we search not for new truths, but for the courage to return to the truth that is never left. The soul does not need explanation. It does not ask for validation. It is complete in its own being. But the ego, loud and restless, seeks to name, to conquer, to claim as its own. It is the ego that asks, "What is my purpose?" It is the soul that whispers back, "To be." The Tao cannot be controlled, cannot be improved, cannot be taught in classrooms or contained in doctrines. It flows through all things, gives birth to all things, and asks for nothing in return. It is the great mother, the sacred void, the breath before breath. It is the source of life and the space in which all life unfolds. You do not find the Tao by reaching it. It's discovered in the surrender, in the softening, in the holy act of letting go. Letting go of knowing, letting go of becoming, letting go of being someone. When you drop the story, what remains? There is a river within you, not metaphorical but real. A living current of divine presence that flows from the heart of the universe through your own chest. It has no name, it cannot be owned. But it is you beneath the name, the skin, the thoughts, the roles. This river does not rush. It does not strive. It simply flows. And when you align with it, not force it, not dam it, not try to control its direction, but when you become it, something sacred happens. You begin to live without resistance. The birds do not worry where they will fly. The trees do not question when to bloom. The sun does not negotiate its rising. And yet we, children of the same source, fill our minds with plans and our hearts with noise, believing we must manage every moment, improve every imperfection, define every mystery. But life is not a problem to be solved. It is a mystery to be lived. You are not here to master the Tao. You are here to be mastered by it, to let it live through you, move through you, breathe you, dance you. The more you speak of the Tao, the further you move from it. But the more you listen deeply, without agenda, the closer you come to its eternal presence. Listen, not with ears, but with being. Can you hear the quiet guidance behind your thoughts? Can you feel the invisible rhythm that has brought you this far, even when you thought you were lost? That rhythm is not random. That guidance is not an accident. It is the Tao leading you. Not with commands, but with invitations. Not with shoulds, but with silent truth. The Tao invites you to live not from fear, but from flow. To act not from effort, but from presence. To love not as a strategy, but as a state of being. To speak not to convince, but to connect. In the world of form, we build identities, careers, reputations, opinions. But in the realm of the Tao, none of that matters. What you do fades. Who you are remains. The you that never began and will never end. The you that was whole before you were named. The you that does not need to be defined to be divine. When you touch that part of yourself, the search ends. Not because you found the answer, but because you remembered that the answer was never separate from you. You are not apart from the Tao, you are of it. You are not walking toward it, you are walking as it. And so there is nothing to earn, nothing to achieve, nothing to grasp. Just return. Return to breath. Return to now. Return to silence. Return to the place inside you that knows without needing to explain, that loves without needing to be loved, that trusts without needing to see. This is not passivity, this is power. The power of alignment, the strength of presence, the stillness that does not flinch even when the world shakes. When you live from the Tao, you become like water, soft yet unstoppable, yielding yet powerful. You take the shape of each moment without losing your essence. You nourish without control. You move with life, not against it. There is no resistance in water, no ego in its path. It flows to the lowest places without shame. It does not boast, it does not argue, and yet over time it shapes mountains. Be like that. Let your life be shaped not by force but by flow. Let your success be measured not in status but in stillness. Let your value come not from what you produce but from what you are. Because you are the Tao in form. You are the divine having a human experience, not to accumulate but to awaken. Not to win, but to witness. Not to control life, but to let life reveal itself through you. You don't need to understand the Tao to be transformed by it. You only need to trust it, to surrender to it, to remember that you were born from it, and to it you shall return. But even in the returning, there is no departure, for the Tao never left you. It has always been here, in the space between your thoughts, in the stillness beneath your fear, in the sacred quiet behind every longing. So be still now. Feel it. Let the words fall away. Let the striving soften. Let the searching end. And let the unspoken truth rise. The Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao, but the Tao that can be lived, it is here, now, in your breath, in your being, and it is enough. There is a moment, subtle as the hush before dawn, when the self you have known begins to dissolve, not with struggle, but with grace. It is not an annihilation, but a revealing. Not a loss, but a letting go of the illusion that you were ever anything other than wholeness dressed in human skin. This is the moment when the veil thins and what remains is not an identity, but a presence. Not a story, but a silence. And in that silence, something eternal begins to whisper. You are not the doer. You are the awareness in which doing happens. You are not the thinker, you are the spaciousness in which thoughts arise and fall like waves returning to sea. The ego may protest it has built itself from motion, from drama, from definition, but your soul knows. It remembers the stillness from which all motion springs. It recognizes that truth does not need to be spoken to be real. It's simply island. Every time you surrender to the moment, truly surrender, without resistance or commentary, you come closer to the Tao. You come closer to the wordless wisdom that governs the unfolding of galaxies and the beating of your own heart. It is the same force. It is not distant. It is not reserved for mystics or sages. It is within you now, whispering through your breath, pulsing in your veins, waiting patiently for your return. You do not need to strive to become spiritual. You are already spirit. You do not need to purify yourself to be worthy. Worthiness is not something you earn, it is something you are. The Tao is not impressed by your accomplishments, it is not moved by your self-punishment. It asks only this: can you be present? Can you release your grip on who you think you should be and allow who you truly are to emerge? There is no arrogance in this emergence. True presence is humble, for it recognizes its source. A flower does not bloom to compete. It blooms because it is its nature to do so. And in blooming, it beautifies the world without effort. So too, when you allow your soul to rise unforced, unedited, unresisted, you become an instrument through which the Tao expresses itself in form. And what a miracle, that island. To walk the world not as a seeker, but as a revealer. To speak not from opinion, but from essence. To give not from obligation, but from overflow. To live not for approval, but from alignment. This is what it means to walk in Tao, not because you follow its teachings, but because you have become its expression. No longer needing to control, you become trustworthy. No longer needing to prove, you become magnetic. No longer needing to know, you become wise. For in surrendering the little self, you awaken to the vast self, the self that holds no edges, no past, no ambition, only presence, only now. The Tao does not rush, it does not explain, it does not defend. And yet, it nourishes all things. What if you lived that way? What if you allowed your life to become an act of trust so complete that even in the chaos, your heart remained anchored in the calm? Not because you've mastered peace, but because you've ceased arguing with life. This is not indifference. It is intimacy. It is not withdrawal from the world. It is entrance into it without distortion. When the filters of fear fall away, you do not detach from the world. You see it as it truly is, whole, mysterious, divine. The same light that burns in stars burns in your chest. The same rhythm that moves the oceans moves your soul. So breathe. Breathe and remember, you are not behind. You are not broken. You are not missing anything. You are simply awakening. Awakening is not a thunderclap. It is a series of tiny surrenders. It is the willingness to be here fully, to stop running, to stop fixing, to stop resisting the sacred perfection of this moment. And as you do, life ceases to be a performance. It becomes a prayer. Each breath becomes holy, each glance a blessing, each step a return. Not to some distant ideal, but to the Tao, to the truth that cannot be spoken, but can always, always be lived. And so you walk not forward in time, but inward in truth. You begin to sense that all your striving was a long detour home. Every ambition, every failure, every moment you thought you were lost was simply grace in disguise, guiding you back to this spacious presence that asks for nothing but your awareness. The Tao cannot be improved, and neither can you. What needs improving is not the soul, but the illusion that it ever needed to become something more. You were not born flawed, you were taught to forget. And now, with each breath of stillness, with each moment of surrender, you are unlearning the forgetting. You are peeling away the layers of becoming to rediscover the peace of simply being. No more disguises, no more masks, no more performances for a world just as unsure as you once were. Instead, you stand as you are, not because you've earned the right, but because you've realized you never lost it. There is a power in that kind of authenticity, a quiet, grounded power that comes not from force, but from truth. And truth, when lived, needs no defense. The river of the Tao does not ask permission to flow. It does not check to see who is watching. It simply follows its nature, and so must you. Not by copying the currents of others, but by trusting the pull within. That inner pull, that inexplicable knowing is the Tao moving through you. It cannot be explained to those still lost in thought, but it can be felt, and it can be followed. Let your life become an act of listening, not to the noise, but to the silence beneath it. There is a sacredness to silence, not the absence of sound, but the presence of space. In that space, truth arises. In that space, love awakens. In that space, all fear dissolves, not because the world has changed, but because your relationship with it is transformed. You no longer need to be right. You no longer need to be first. You no longer need to be seen. You are already held by something greater than approval. You are already witnessed by something deeper than visibility. The Tao sees you, it knows you, and it moves you not through command, but through resonance. What resonates is already true. And when you live in resonance, you stop moving against the current of life. You stop pushing, manipulating, exhausting. You start allowing. You start receiving. You start realizing that abundance is not something you chase, it's something you recognize. Peace is not something you earn, it's something you remember. And love, divine love, is not something you wait for. It is what you are when all resistance falls away. The Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao, but the Tao that can be trusted. It will never leave you. It will hold you when the world turns its back. It will carry you when your strength fails. It will breathe for you when your faith falters. And when you look back one day from a place of deep inner stillness, you will see that nothing was wasted. Not the heartbreak, not the detour, not even the moments of forgetting. All of it was the path, the crooked line that turned out to be a circle, a return, not to a better version of you, but to the real one, the one who was never apart from the Tao, the one who was always home. And now, like a leaf released into a gentle stream, you begin to float without effort. You begin to realize that life is not a mountain to be climbed, but a river to be surrendered to. And as you allow the current to carry you, not away from yourself, but deeper into your own essence, you feel the tension melt. The muscles of your mind, clenched for years in control and calculation, finally soften. The heart, once armored in fear and expectation, begins to unfold like petals in sunlight. You are not losing anything in this surrender. You are not giving up the self. You are giving up the illusion of the self. You are letting go of the mask so the face of truth can be seen. And when it is seen, truly seen, it is beautiful beyond all measures, not because it fits a mold, but because it no longer needs one. The Tao is the nameless mother of all things. It births 10,000 forms, yet claims none as its own. So too your soul can create without attachment, speak without expectation, give without depletion. The moment you stop acting from the need to be someone, you begin to act from the overflow of being itself. That is when your words become medicine. Not because you tried to heal, but because healing is what truth naturally does. That is when your silence becomes sacred. Not because you withheld, but because presence speaks louder than sound. That is when your life becomes art, not by design, but by surrender. The Tao teaches us not through commandments, but through contrast. It lets us experience striving so we can appreciate flow. It allows us to taste restlessness so we may yearn for peace. It shows us the pain of ego so we might return to the freedom of the soul. Nothing is wasted in its unfolding. Even the detours are part of the path. When you begin to live from this space, from the silent center that observes all without clinging to any of it, you begin to see the world differently. A smile from a stranger becomes a sign. A bird's song becomes scripture. The wind on your face becomes a sermon. Because you are no longer seeking grand revelations, you are listening for the sacred in the ordinary. And that is where the Tao hides in plain sight. Not in temples, not in texts, not in the words of masters, but in the stillness between your own thoughts. In the breath you forgot you were breathing. In the pause between heartbeats. It has never left you. You left yourself. But now you are returning not to a new identity, but to a timeless one. Not to a philosophy, but to a presence. The presence that was with you in your first breath and will hold you through your last. The presence that knows no fear, no need, no lack. It is complete, and it is what you are. To live from that presence is to live without hurry, to walk without urgency, to speak with clarity, not volume, to meet life not with demand, but with deep trust. And oh, what a life, that island. A life where the moments don't rush past you, but bloom within you. A life where peace is not postponed for a future without problems, but embraced now amidst the beautiful mess of being human. A life where joy is not a prize, but a practice. Where you realize that everything you were waiting for was waiting for you to awaken. The Tao cannot be taught. It can only be remembered. And you are remembering now not with the intellect, but with the soul. You are coming home not to a destination, but to a vibration. Not to a belief, but to a way of being. You are not becoming the Tao. You have always been it. And as you settle more deeply into this remembrance, you feel the tension of a lifetime begin to dissolve. The tension of needing to impress, the burden of proving your worth, the endless pursuit of becoming someone in the eyes of a world that forgot how to see. All of it fades like mist under the morning sunday. For what is there to prove when you are already one with what is? There is no audience in the presence of the Tao, no critic, no applause. There is only the dance of life itself flowing through you, around you, as you. And when you surrender to that dance, not needing to lead, not needing to follow, but simply to move as you are moved, then you are free. Not the freedom the world speaks of, the freedom to do anything, but a deeper freedom. The freedom to be untouched, unshaken, unbound by fear. To walk through the fire of change without being burned by identity. To watch the seasons of your life shift and still know the ground beneath it all is steady, eternal, and yours. There is a wisdom that speaks not in words but in winds, not in sermons but in silence. It is the voice of the Tao, the whisper of the soul. And when you live in communion with that voice, you no longer need direction, you become direction. You no longer need to chase purpose, you become purpose embodied. You begin to live with such stillness that your very presence becomes a sanctuary. You begin to love with such gentleness that even the hardened places in others begin to soften. You begin to move with such surrender that every step becomes a prayer. Not because you have tried to be spiritual, but because you have ceased trying to be anything else. This is the paradox the mind cannot grasp, but the soul remembers. That when you stop seeking, you find. That when you stop naming, you understand. That when you stop grasping, you receive. The Tao is not found through effort. It is found through emptiness. It is not reached by climbing higher, but by sinking deeper. Deeper into the truth that there is no separation between you and the source of life. You are not a visitor to the divine, you are its expression. And once you see this, truly see it, judgment fades. Comparison dissolves. Competition becomes absurd. For how can one wave compete with another when both are the ocean? How can one candle judge another when both are lit by the same flame? Let yourself be a wave, let yourself be a flame, let yourself be exactly what you are, no more, no less. For in that precise expression, unadorned and unashamed, lies the perfection the Tao has been guiding you toward all along. There is no effort in a tree growing. There is no strain in a river's flow. And there need be no striving in your unfolding. Let your life be as natural as dawn breaking, as effortless as a breeze through the trees, as inevitable as light finding its way through cracks. Because that is what you are, the light, not the shadow, not the struggle, not the doubt. The light that moves quietly through all things. The light that never asks, am I enough? Because it simply shines. And when you remember that, not just in thought, but in the marrow of your being, you do not become enlightened, you become real. Not a better version of yourself, but the original one, the one before fear, before noise, before forgetting. And that is the gift of the Tao. It returns you to yourself. Not by giving you something new, but by stripping away what was never you to begin with. And now we come not to an end, but to the deepest breath of all, a breath that does not complete the journey, but sanctifies it. The path you have walked, winding and sacred, was never leading you outward. It was a spiral inward, ever inward, toward the unshakable center of your own being. And here you are, not because you reached it, but because you stopped running from it. There is no final destination. There is only deeper intimacy with the moment. The ego will always hunger for a peak, a triumph, a conclusion. But the soul is content to bow, to listen, to simply be. And so we do not finish, we arrive. Arrive in this breath, where everything is already whole. Arrive in this silence, where nothing needs to be explained. Arrive in this presence, where all of you is welcomed, yes, even the scars, even the shadows, even the doubts that still flicker in the corners of your awareness. For the Tao holds them all. The Tao judges nothing, the Tao discards no one. It is here for the wounded parts of you, just as it is for your highest light. It is here for the one who doubted. It is here for the one who pretended. It is here for the one who tried so hard to be enough. It is here to remind you, you always were. And so you release now, not because you have nothing left to hold, but because you finally understand you were never meant to hold it. The pain, the striving, the endless seeking, they served their purpose. They led you here, they made you tender, they made you ready. And now, with open hands and an open heart, you let the river carry you. You no longer need a name for what you are. You no longer need to describe the light to feel it. You no longer need to speak the Tao to live it. You are living it every time you meet life without resistance. Every time you forgive the moment instead of fighting it. Every time you trust the unknown rather than clinging to the familiar. Every time you love without condition and breathe without needing a reason. You are the presence that watches, the stillness that holds, the light that outlasts every passing cloud. You are not your story, you are not your future, you are not your fear. You are the space they pass through. And in that space, the Tao sings not with sound, but with silence, not with words, but with wisdom. And you are the instrument now. You are the hollow flute through which the Tao plays its quiet, holy music. So walk on not towards something, but as something. Walk as stillness. Walk as truth. Walk as the Tao in human form, gentle, grounded, luminous. Let your life be the unspoken scripture. Let your breath be the blessing. Let your being be the proof. There is nothing left to become. You are already home. And in this home, nothing is missing. Nothing is broken. Nothing needs to be fixed. Only remembered, only loved, only lived. The Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao, but the Tao that can be lived, it is who you are. It is where you are. It is now. Then let us go further still, not toward more, but into more. More depth, more stillness, more knowing beyond thought, because the truth of who you are is not a matter of how many steps you take toward enlightenment. It is a matter of how completely you can stop, how fully you can surrender, how softly you can be with what island. There is a beauty that can only be seen by the soul, a wisdom that can only be heard in silence. You cannot chase it, you cannot manufacture it. But when all striving ceases, it rises not as something new, but as something ancient returning to view. And in that rising, you remember you are not here to seek the Tao, but to become transparent enough for the Tao to shine through. This transparency is not weakness. It is power beyond all performance. To be transparent is to carry nothing unnecessary, no defenses, no masks, no roles. Just the raw, luminous truth of your being breathing itself into the world. When you strip away every borrowed belief, every inherited fear, every identity constructed in desperation, what remains? Not of wide, but of usness. Not a blank slate, but a boundless light. And that light is you before you learn to be someone. That light is the Tao expressing itself as a life, as a presence, as a sacred breath walking the earth in your name. So much of your exhaustion comes from forgetting this, from trying to hold together a false self, a curated image, an idea of who you think you must be to deserve love. But the Tao never asks for that effort. It asks only for your trust. Trust that you are already the sky, not the weather. Trust that you are already the ocean, not the waves. Trust that even when you doubt, even when you fall, even when you forget, it is holding you, guiding you, moving through you. You do not have to hold the Tao, it is holding you. And when you finally when you let go of controlling your healing, your growth, your future, what rushes in is not emptiness, but a peace so deep it does not depend on understanding. It's simply island. And from that peace, your life begins to move differently. You speak less to be heard and more to bless. You give not to be valued, but because giving has become your joy. You no longer ask life to meet your expectations, you meet life with your presence. You realize that even the moments that once broke you were necessary. Not to punish you, not to test you, but to soften you. To break the outer shell that had hardened around your soul so the light could get in and out. You are not the wound. You are the light that survived it. And now you carry that light forward, not as a burden, but as a beacon, quietly, lovingly, powerfully. The Tao makes no proclamations, it simply exists. It nourishes, it heals, it guides, all without needing recognition, and so do you. You begin to love anonymously. You begin to serve without needing to be thanked. You begin to live for the joy of alignment, not the applause of achievement. This is the sacred shift from ego to essence, from noise to knowing, from effort to embodiment. And in this space you understand, the greatest miracle is not walking on water, it is walking the earth with open eyes, with a tender heart, with a still soul that knows the sacredness of this now. No longer needing the extraordinary, you see the miracle in the ordinary, the softness of your breath, the texture of sunlight, the quiet grace of simply being. You realize there is nothing missing from this moment. The Tao is here, complete within you. You are the leaf in the wind, the silence in the song, the question and the answer. You are not just on the path. You are the path. And as you walk, not seeking, not striving, but surrendering, the world rearranges itself around your peace. Not because it changed, but because you did. You are no longer asking life to reflect your fear. You are allowing it to reflect your truth. And the truth is this: you are the breath of the Tao. You are the light of the formless. You are not separate from the sacred. You are what the sacred looks like in human form. So live like it, not with effort, but with ease, not with noise, but with presence, not with pride, but with reverence. Let every step be a bow. Let every moment be enough. Let your being be your message, because you are already home. And in that home there is no striving, only stillness, only light, only love. And that is enough. You are enough.